good to see you.
My
Again.
pleasure. My pleasure. That's right.
I'm excited. I am overwhelmed myself. I think some of your students said that, and that resonated with me, that we are at this journey where we get to sit down and talk to you about your art, and in particular, ask you some questions about your life. And so the way I kind of got involved with this is I saw the article in the Washingtonian
Yes.
about the rediscovery of this masterpiece.
Yes.
And initially when I saw it, I was like, oh, we have to have that. And
Thank you.
and I was like, we have to have it, and we did some work, and we tried to figure out our best way of getting it, and we ended up with a 3D image scan.
Okay.
And so I'm really excited about how we are going to be able to interpret your work for future generations. And sitting here with this interview, they'll actually have your words to talk about your own work.
Okay.
So one, thank you so much for sitting down with me. Thank you so much for continuing to be a beacon for young people, for adults, for everyone, about what it means to be an artist, to live as an artist, and to embody one's work. And so I want to give you those flowers while I can.
I'm feeling you. Okay.
But I want to start off by asking you the question, when you first heard that this piece had been rediscovered, what came to mind?
I suppose you might say resurrection, if you study the religion, and a resurrection of my validity, being valid in the eyes of the world, in the eyes of history, that our people are included. Our people, after living this life, struggle or prosperity, will ascend to heaven like everybody else who is righteous to do that. So we need that energy to see and to feel that, yes, I'm a candidate for eternal life. Okay? And so that's the idea, is to have that, as this sanctuary was where the choir sat, the minister was here, and then the congregation out, and then the piece here, and I was just overwhelmed to be chosen by a custodian at Duke Ellington School of the Art, where I taught at the beginning of that. I was the chair of the art department, and he came to ask me, my church wants to do a mural of the Last Supper. Can you do that? And of course, I said, what, students? I said, yes. And I learned. But I said, I don't want to do a painting, I want to do a sculpture. And they said, well, we've never seen that before. And said, this is the perfect opportunity, okay, to do that. These people asked me, and I said yes, and I would have paid them to do it. They paid me to do it, which is great, but the honor and the experience, and that we are sitting here now with my youngins, my children, and I just had a great grandchild.
I want to ask you the question, because you went there about childhood. You grew up in this neighborhood. Across the street. What was art for you as a child?
Life.
Tell me about it.
It was just a living experience. My mother hung the clothes in the backyard, and one day she bought some of this new aluminum clothes hangers. And it was, it wouldn't rot like the cloth ones did. I took it and started making sculpture out of it, twisting it and turning it. And then she came out and looked for a minute, and she said, okay, I'll just buy another one. Because look at my son. That was in her head as far as I could feel. It's encouragement. And my father was a carpenter. We had a shop in the back, and I was responsible for dividing all the different nails and screws, in the same compartments, because he had them organized in different containers. That was my job. And then handing him his tool as his helper on the job. So I learned process, I learned construction, and I learned how to follow my father in terms of his endeavor. He was in the military, but he also had side jobs. I think all black people have side jobs. I don't know, that's like what we do, to make it happen, And so when doing this piece, I wanted it to be interpreted because they didn't have photographs back in that day, okay? So they didn't have video. They didn't have, cell phones. So I'm feeling the university has allowed me to get a message in through my talent. That's what artists do. We hold up the flags of our group. We tell the history, but we give the inspiration, the feeling for study and for struggle and for what's necessary to be, whole human beings. And so that's what I'm looking forward to for my young people here and all of my students I've had over the years. And I've seen them be successful. That to me, I want to live a long time, but if I had to die right now, I'm ready because of their success, and they will call my name, I'm sure.
So what's your legacy as an artist?
That's an amazing question. And I'm still forming it. I'm still saying, what more can I do that makes sense? You want to be good at what you do. And if possible, great, given the applause of your community. But when it's time to rest, you have to say, I'm an old man. Okay, and I deserve the rest, but I love working hard. I love sweating. I love getting, when I say dirty, you know what I'm saying? Whatever the material is. I love it, and I watched my father. I watched my mother, and they did too. And so I'm trying to emulate their example. So my legacy is respect for my elders. And so I'm hoping for the respect of my youngins. Is this interesting? Okay, wow. I mean, I'm still learning from it. I'm the artist, I made it. And it's like the vibrations coming off this wall. I'm gonna tell you the truth. And it's not a metaphor, it's not a joke. It's real, and that's the power of the arts. It's to bring, I was going to say, and I'm going to say, bring back the vibrations.
What's vibrating? Because what age were you when you did this piece?
Whatever 76 minus 40 years ago is, what is that?
36.
Yeah,
36.
something like that.
I'm 36.
Are you 36?
I'm 36.
So that's a synergy there.
Yeah.
No, I'm not joking.
Yeah, absolutely.
It happens, and we have to pay attention to that when it does happen. Numerology and stuff, that's something to study sometimes, But so you're the only person that's supposed to be doing this. You're the only person. You're the person that's supposed to be doing this with me as we sit here today. I propose, and I'm trying to be worthy here, but I'm just saying it is deliberate action to be an artist. You say, I want to do this, and I'm going to do it, and I did it. Damn. Oh, excuse me. Okay. So.
I think you'd be all right.
Okay.
I want to ask you, because you talked about vibration.
Yes.
And I am standing embodied as 36. What is your 36-year-old self saying to you right now as you're standing in the place or sitting in the place that you labored in for some time?
I did, and I decided to work on churches after this for a major part of my career. and mainly in stained glass windows, but some sculpture as well. It's saying that maybe this is a career. You know, maybe I'll be supported by my community to do art. You know, look at that, to do art, really? How many black artists did I know? Well, I knew some teachers who taught, my wonderful teachers, oh my God. Excuse me, I didn't mean to, okay. But my teachers, they were saying, boy, you got talent. Let me give you a roll of craft brown paper to do a mural on the wall. Let me give you a piece of paper and some crayons. And, you know, they were buying out of their pocket, like a lot happens in our community. And why is this person reaching out like that? So you ask me, why do I reach out? You know, I was trained to reach out. I get paid to teach at Howard University, but you know, it's not why I'm there to get paid. It helps, you know, it helps. That's another job, but it's respect for my culture, my race, my history, our victories that we've had over the decades, centuries even. It's like, what are you gonna do, boy? Somebody's saying to me in the back of my head, and maybe my mother, you know, and lovingly, what's gonna be your contribution? And I'm just saying continuity is the best answer I can give. And I'm happy to be represented by this work, which will live, if not, if we get to be 10,000 years from now, and it's rediscovered as a relic of these period times, then we'll have this technology of our wonderful videographers here to say, oh man, wait, I got this on a thumb drive or something, you know.
Look, to be rediscovered again. I want to go to the piece and talk some about that. Walk us through your experience creating this.
Well, it was on a platform about like what we own now, so I could reach the faces and so forth. And first of all, I hearkened back to how this is going to stay up into eternity. And so I respected the media to say, okay, is this just temporary or is it meant to be permanent? And so the study of this and the research of the materials and 40 years, that's pretty good, but what about 4,000 years? And I'm not exaggerating, why not? Why not? You know, and so I studied the technique. This is generally called the low relief or bas relief, people call it. And as a matter of fact, I asked the church to allow me to do it, as I mentioned earlier, because I'm studying, I'm learning, I'm trying to progress to another level, right? And so they said, okay, but it's still the same money. I mean, I don't want to get into, you know, details about the business dealings, but I said, no, I'm good, I'm good. I just want to do this. I'm feeling this, you know. I want this to come out from the wall, you know. And it's kind of spooky right now. I'm kind of looking at it and I'm saying, okay, Jesus, what is it going? Is it good? And I'm remembering actually working on it. Now, people ask me about who's Judas. You know, Judas was the guy who supposedly, you know, and I said, well, you got to figure that out. You know, I'm a little mysterious. You know, as artists, we got to be that a little bit. Don't tell them all the secrets right away. You know, let it be mysterious. But I'm saying I thought about, as a 36-year-old, this day. Would it be appreciated in the future? You know, would it last the way I built it? I built it to last, but would it last? And one of the people who bought the building before Studio Acting Conservatory decided to cover over it. I said, wow, that's powerful. For them to want to cover it up, dang, I didn't say damn. I said, dang. It's like, that's powerful. And then to be uncovered. We talking miracle stuff here now. You know what I mean? And the stewardship of Studio Acting Conservatory is like, they're appreciating me and respecting me. I had to say that I'm glad we videotaped me because I had to say it officially. Because everybody ain't like that, you know? So I just want to say that. But to be respected in my lifetime, you know, is to be the dream of any artist, you know? And so, you know, I'm just proud and happy. But I projected on being respected. The budget was what the church could afford, but it wasn't a professional budget, put it that way. But the budget of love, another one. The budget of, that's another song, students, okay. The budget of love. Okay, we're gonna sing another one. But yeah, it was that and projecting to this moment of success. I'm saying just now, I feel successful. Just now, because the church got it, they said, okay, this is our small community and we'll enjoy it. But then the papers and stuff, and then people tried to obscure it, they tried to cover it, you know. But then all of a sudden, and I'm a religious person, God said, well, it's time to uncover it. It's time, come on. You know, and I don't know what am I going to do? The world will handle it. So that's the way I feel. I feel vindicated because of that. You know, I'm happy. I'm happy. And, you know, because I've been blessed and prepared and fed and everything that it takes to be successful. So, and successful at doing my job as an artist and what that fits into culture. And what we call it in class is cultural expression. Art is cultural expression, you know, and so that means that as a people of African descent, we love ourselves. We love looking at each other. We love celebrating. And, you know, we love being respected by other cultures. We love looking at other cultures. But we definitely head over heels in love with ourselves. Okay, so that's the idea. And some of us are not. But I suspect and I pray that when people see this, if they're not in love, they'll fall in love with themselves.
Talk to me about that,
Okay.
of falling in love with oneself when they see this, and in folding into that answer, I look at it and I see all of the different faces. Talk to me about what these faces represented, who these faces were.
Okay. Well, those are people walking up and down Homey Street. Because the choir would be rehearsing one night when I was working on it, and they said, okay, we got to rehearse now. So I go and sit on the steps, and people walking by, I might be eating, you know, a meal or something, and that's who the disciples were, including Jews. And why not? Didn't he walk on this earth? I mean, if you believe in or if you study that, he walked on the earth, right? He did good deeds. So, you know, why not do churches? And that's what I kind of got into a heavy welcoming to the community of black churches in this city, and it amazed me really, because I tried to be a bad boy, it didn't work, so I decided let's be an artist. You know, that worked, and I'm happy. I'm happy to be sitting here with you.
Look, I'm happy that you're here with me.
Okay, good.
I want to know about the eyes.
Oh.
The eyes are dark. The eyes are, some would say, maybe empty, but I don't think they're empty. What was the intentionality behind the eyes?
Such a professional here, and everybody who asks that or mentions it, I know that you are well studied if I hadn't known your resume or known your titles, but it's key that the eyes be piercing into your soul, because they're looking out at all of us right this moment, anybody who's looking at it. And the technique, there's a technique there, because now I could have done a number of things. I could have painted them black or brown or whatever, but in sculpture, to give the appearance of a darkened eye with the white other eye around it, is to create a shadow. So you carve it out, and then the eye remains dark. It's a shadow. I could, as you mentioned this, throw in a thought that would be like real cute, because it sounds good at the moment. I didn't think about it at the time, but that would fill your eyes, or the viewer's eyes, would be in that space, what we call a concave space. Concave meaning it's carved out, okay? But it gives the idea of the person looking. And it's been used over the ages to do that, to give that look of the darkened eyes, but particularly when you're dealing with like a material like marble that is a consistent white color, or even darker marble. So it was to say, okay, this is what's done in this. Let me tell a secret.
Mm-hmm.
I actually wanted more time on this piece.
Mm-hmm.
I had some other ideas. I had some other work that I wanted to do on it, but I guess the universe just said it's time, and the church said it's time. They were like, okay, we need our sanctuary back, because it was covered. It was covered up as they were having various Sunday sermons and so forth. So a certain period of time went through. I was working hard, but I had to work by myself because the budget was not really there. So I had to do the work by myself. And I didn't want to rush, but I was moving as fast as I could. And then it was like time, but I simplified. And you know what? Sometimes stuff happens so right. It was saying that we don't need all that physical drama, gesturing. We just need them relaxed like we're doing here. Our hands kind of folded, and the focus is on Jesus and the last meal that they had together, the Last Supper, sometimes called the Lord's Supper. I wasn't there at the event, so I'm not quite sure,
But what sticks
Okay.
for me in this piece is the ability for oneself to see them there, right? And for me, as you were saying that, and using the everyday, using the individuals who were walking by, who were walking in,
That's right.
that we all can see ourselves in this work, right?
Right.
That though we did not live during that time, that individual.
We lived during this time.
Absolutely.
Right, okay,
right?
go ahead, I'm
and
sorry.
that we all have sat around table, right? And the
rolling.
question of
I get happy. I don't know how many people go to this concert, but anyway, okay.
who's invited to table and who's not
Oh.
invited to table.
You keep going.
That I want to know, in thinking about particularly the hand that's on said table. I have an idea of who I think that may be, but if you could talk about, there are two hands on the table. Obviously, we know the middle is Christ. Who is the individual with hand on table? And in thinking about that,
Hurry up, because I'm trying to.
is that signifying anything as it relates to who gets invited to the table?
Well, you can be invited to the table, but you can be expelled from the table too. Okay, and so when you're betrayed, you have to let that person go, you know? And so who would dare put their hand on the table with Jesus as he's getting ready to feed us? Does that answer it? You know? So I don't know how he looked, but who would dare to say, I'm gonna rest my hand on the table? And
Are we all that person at some point, though?
oh, ooh, he went there. And the question gave the answer. Yes. And most religions or Christianity certainly say we're all sinners. We have all sinned. But do we get forgiven? It's dependent, in my opinion. Don't get too bad out there, you know, because then there's a hell to go to also.
What was the choice? Another question, and as an artist, I know there's intentionality in things, and particularly in the work. There's no food on the table.
Well, actually, in his hand,
Is the bread.
yeah, right, you see it now? Yeah, okay, yeah. So it's like, but for me, he's really not saying that. He's saying, I am the meal. You know, feed off of me. This is symbolic of the nourishment that not me, of course, but as Jesus is saying, I am the meal to be nourished, for you to be nourished by. And the symbology of bread and whatever they drink, they like wine, which is cool, I guess, you know. So it's that symbology that's there.
So we don't have much time left, but I want to ask you a few more questions
Sure.
pertaining to the sculpture, and then also thinking about kind of forward movement and what happens from here.
Yes.
Can you tell us about the circle of the table and the protruding out?
Yeah, that's asked a lot because people look at the paintings that they see in the books and say this on the internet, because this thing hit on the internet. The table was rectangular. It wasn't round. What are you talking about round? Like they were there, you know? Okay, you know. And I didn't respond to that. It was like in attack mode, actually. You know how the internet can get. But I'm saying the circle. What does that bring to mind? The feeling of the circle. That's right, the circle. All of that. The circle. I'm sitting up there and I said, plus I like what we call in class the drapery, or the way I thought that looked good. It just looked good. They probably didn't have a tablecloth. Okay? You know what I'm saying? And I said, it looks good. But that was done with carpentry, and that's plywood. You know what plywood is, you know, on the floor and stuff, on the top here. And that roundness. Now, this is done in perspective. This particular low relief technology is to simulate something that has depth. You know, it goes back further than it comes. You know, it comes out further and so forth. You know, and so it's actually in my mind round. It's round, and so you know they're sitting around. Oh, that was King Arthur, wasn't it? And the round table, something. You know. So, but I'm saying a round table is good in any culture. Let's sit around the table. Let's sit around the round table and discuss and have communion, and you know, let's eat spiritually, be fed spiritually around the round table. Okay, and so that was the idea.
I want to ask you another question about the discovery. Had you forgotten about the piece being here?
Oh, no. As a matter of fact, I had a wonderful I've had a great career. I'm having a great career. And the Washington Post was doing a major piece on me. When was that? Sometime after this, maybe 20 years ago or something.
Mm-hmm.
Major piece in the style section. I was psyched, And they said, "Oh, there's going to be a spread and some pictures and stuff." And I said, "Well, I did this sculpture in this church right around the corner from me," because they were looking at my stained glass windows and other work. And so I said, "Man, I'm about to be rich and famous here. I'm getting there, and I can buy a house. I can do some things." And I got a house, but that's from some other stuff, family stuff. But I said, I had this place, and she said, "Oh, I want to go and say, I'll go in there." I said, "Well, that group, I don't want to say their names, actually, because it makes me a little upset." But anyway, they bought the building before the Conservatory here. And so she came in, and she's an investigative reporter, so she know how to get in places. Mm-hmm. I went to Washington Post, and here's my credentials, and so she got in. And she said, "Well, can I speak to you, whoever?" Short story, long story short, is that oh well, no, that's been we had to put a petition there. This is the back wall of the building. Petition is how you divide rooms up. Okay, so it might have been there, but not right in front of this piece, right? They covered it up because they couldn't deal with this image as Jesus.
So I have two more questions, and we're going to wrap up for you. Can you talk to me about the Black Arts Movement and Afro-Cobra and how that movement and that time impacted you and also impacted the work, particularly this piece, right? We were coming out of the 70s. This was the 82, beginning of the 80s. So what influence did that movement have on you? What influence did the movement have on your work in general, but also particularly and specifically this piece?
I am indeed a member of Afro-Cobra, a proud member, a group that has studied and worked together for 51 years. I joined about the time of this piece, now that I think about it, when the leader of that group came to Howard as the chair of the art department and subsequently became the dean. And he invited me to join at that time. And I was saying, like, me? I mean, I'm a prideful person, but I was like looking at them as like another echelon of the Black Arts Movement. Okay, you read about them, you heard about them, you saw their work, and then here's this young man and me that you're inviting, and in about 2 seconds I said yes. Of course, high compliment. One of the highest compliments of my entire career. And this was a very celebrated group, as my students know, and some people may not know the group, but the Black Arts Movement was it was a revolutionary movement. Now, let me just say for your research, and you know about it, but anybody's research, the project that they participated on in Chicago called the Wall of Respect. And I actually did a paper on this when I went back to school to get my master's degrees and so forth. Because when I saw it in the newspaper that they were on scaffolding ladders to paint black people on a wall. Now, what you have to understand is that was life-threatening in Chicago. Mayor Daley, if you know that history, okay, and his reign of terror. You were risking your life to paint. You were risking your life to paint on a wall, especially to paint images of black people. You were risking your life. That's not a metaphor. to paint black people on a wall. Had this been out here, they would have been the same thing. Nigga, what you think you're doing? Was the attitude. And I had to say it like that because that was the reality, around the country. So that was a revolutionary act. If you look up the word revolution, you understand what I'm saying. I'm not talking about slang. I'm saying that was the beginning of a black resurgence of reclaiming our human power, And, it was major because it was an image. Now, of course, they eventually tore the building down because it was too threatening to the people in power. But the photography and now we have the 3D, whatever happens, and this building will stay, I'm sure, to the distant future. But maybe not. But we do have an opportunity to bear witness. We know that term, right? We were there, and we will tell people that we were there or here. And so that's the major part of. Let me tell you this one thing. Before that period, I was younger, and I didn't think I was allowed to paint pictures of black people. Now, I actually felt that. I'm serious. And so I drew white people pretty well, actually, because I'm a good artist. But I said, are they going to arrest me? Okay. Will my people in my neighborhood be ashamed of me? Because I did a picture of a black. I felt that I could not do that. And then one day, my sister, who is a little older than me, I'm sorry, Covell is her name. That's a unique name, I know, but my dear sister Covell. She bought an album of Miles Davis and then another one of the Nigerian drummer Olatunji. And he had a thing called Drums of Passion. You can see how much that's important to me because I know it like it was yesterday. I played that music. I had some materials in the house. I said, I'm going to paint a black person. I was proud, but I was still afraid. I was afraid. And then I painted another one. And then I went outside. And I said, look at me, world. I'm an artist. I paint black people. So you see my other side here. I have that's but see, I have my thing because I'm prepared, right? But that brought back. See, that's what you do, man. That's your thing. He's able to draw it out. No, I'm serious. That's an expert interview. Understand that. We all have our talents, and y'all got a close up of these tears, man. But that was energizing for me, because I was a young guy who you got to watch out. If I'm on the street and you approach me and I start crying, you got a bad fight on your hands. Okay? That boy started crying and I started swinging every kind of way. No, you're not going to hurt me. Because, anyway.
So I think I'm out of time. I want to, again, say well done, right? That in the tradition in which you belong to, oftentimes that is the marker in which we aspire to hear at the end of our journey. Yet in the journey that you're in, not at the end, saying well done, that your body of work, and as you continue to make work,
Thank you, sir.
but your body of work speaks to generations of people, and that the rediscovery of something you made at a pivotal point in your life's journey is still here for us to take in.
Amazing.
And will be here for generations to come. And as with this building, but also with the 3D image scan, we say at the Smithsonian, we collect for perpetuity.
There you go.
So that that there's always a space and a place and a record of at least one piece of work that you have done. And so thank you for taking the time
Thank you.
out.
Thank you.
Thank you for your honesty. Thank you for your transparency. And keep painting and keep designing and keep drawing
Will do.
Black people.
Will do.
Thank you so much.
I'll do this because